collection of, this is really nerdy, really, really nerdy, and I found my inner nerd. We all know this stuff. We can't prove it without data. We're now collecting statistics very carefully on how many volunteer hours there are, how much money we're bringing in, how many groups, because it's the evidence. Unfortunately, the budgets are run by the people who like numbers. And so we need that evidence in front of them. So we're very happy to share with you our experiences, both positive and negative, in terms of collecting data, but it really does make a difference. You can say, look, there's this 1,000 number of hours, this many £1,000, these number of people who are volunteering, these people have gone on to work, for example. That's the process through which they've done it. We've also done work on, there's more funding for sites and more funding for groups because we exist for basically this area. And our last achievement, which at the moment is our biggest achievement, is something called Active Parks, which you may or may not have heard about. It came from various conversations. It came from data collection originally, which is we were trying to persuade the City Council how much volunteering we did, and we got talking to people in the sort of health team, and worked out that volunteering is physical activity. So the number of hours of volunteering is the same as the number of hours of physical activity. So we were, in effect, providing a health prevention programme. Illness prevention programme. By getting volunteers out there digging fresh air, both with mental and physical well-being. So we then decided we wanted some funding for this. And we went to talk to the sport and leisure at that point, and now the wellbeing team, to say, give us some money and we'll run more activities in parks, and we'll get more people doing things, more people fit, and as a result, more volunteers as well. So we now have a programme across, there's 80 sites in Birmingham, which is pretty optimal. Running everything from Tai Chi to dancing, through some of the sports, but we don't use the S word very often because it puts people off. Woodland work, conservation work, gardening, all as part of Active Park. And it's fantastic. It's got loads more people outdoors. The idea is it's the nothing to something people, the people who are doing no physical activity, doing something. So if you're fit and active, you're going to get out there and do it yourself. We're here to encourage more people to just get out and do things. So that's what we've done in the last 10 years. Ding! This is how we haven't done it. Here we are in the trenches. When the OSF started 10 years ago, this was the situation we were in. You had a lot of people in the Parks Department going like this, and a lot of friends were going, they won't let us do this, they won't let us do that. No, I have a little team. It says it, it's all in there. Another team. First thing we had to do was get out of the trenches. We had to see, from the point of view of the Parks volunteers, open spaces volunteers, that the Parks Department were not the enemy. The only other people who care as much about your open spaces than you are the professionals. The only reason they don't appear to care is because they have very limited funds and nowadays even more limited staff. So the first job we had to do 10 years ago was to get them to trust us, for us to all end up on the same side and recognise that the baddies are the politicians and the budget holders. And to be honest, people like us who don't want to pay tax. I mean, that's where we have to be honest. Every time you vote for a tax cut, another park keeper weeps. So that was the first bit of the job we had to do, and that was really the important bit. And by working together, we make quite a good pincer movement. They are the professionals, they are the experts, and we have the experience and we have the knowledge on the ground. So between us, we can squeeze them in there. Ting. So this is what we do like. This is how we work. We are the Scooby Gang of open spaces. You can read into what you like as the English characters, which you're all going to The Rangers see themselves as the handsome. But as we know, brainless. The volunteers are the... I think we should have been that one, actually. Anyway, so this is how we do it. This is how we see our role now, is to be part of the Scooby Gang, to be part of the team, working with everybody around, trying to do things. And the one thing there isn't in there is sort of other agencies. So people like TCB. We can have, was it Scrappy Doo? Yeah, you don't have Scrappy Doo. The late covers. So organisations like TCB that you might work with as well, they get to be in there too. And it's not easy. I'm sure, you know, you've come across the bureaucracy of your own local authority. None of them are as big and as ugly as Birmingham. It's got layer upon layer upon layer. You just convince one officer and they move on. You've got to find someone else. You've got to educate them that yes, grass does have to be cut. It was one of it could be as though they wanted slow growing grass. Yes, all right then. To which response, fine, we're going to concrete the lot, and you'll be sorry. So the barriers to working with the local authority is that they are under huge financial constraints, and whatever they say to you, they haven't got the money to do it. There's this constant change. The other thing that we have to remember, there's such a huge diversity of open spaces. The people who like plants in straight rows don't like the people who like long grass. People who like dogs don't like children. People who like bikes don't like runners. The people who just want to dig, not speak to any human beings, are different to the people who want to be sociable and run events. So there's that huge diversity, and it is great because our public open spaces is where we all have to learn to get on with each other. Sticking on all kinds of everywhere. But that diversity is also the strength, so we have to kind of bite our lips and get on with it. The other thing we have to remember is we are part-time amateurs. Now I think that's a huge strength, but it is a difficulty. You've probably got day jobs. If you haven't got day jobs, you've got other kinds of responsibilities. So you are looking after your open space, doing whatever it is you do there. If you get involved in an authority-wide network like this, you've got time to commit to that. They're paid staff. That's their job. So for us to find that time, to find that commitment, it's... Am I not moving it? You have to ask, a lot more of your guys, a lot more of your volunteers. When you get to a regional network, well, who knows how much more effort you're going to be asked to put in, but I would suggest you look for help for that.
Question. Why have you used the word amateur? Why haven't you not used the word volunteers?
I just wanted to use a different word there. I think in comparison to the people who are paid...
Because a lot of people have got skills.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
And that's which are relevant, and by putting in an amateur, you're degrading them.
No,
so perhaps that's
I
the wrong
know,
word.
I know how skilled volunteers are. I just wanted to just put in there sometimes how we're seen by the professionals, that we're part-timers, that we're amateurs, and we can be patted on the head a bit. It's not a word I would use, and it's not a word I would recognise about us, but it's somehow how we sometimes feel that we're being perceived, and sometimes a view you have to push past with some officers. So, the next 2 slides left. This bit is we need political champions. Although we do all this stuff, if you haven't got a politician who's going to speak up for you when it comes to the budget cuts, it's all kind of a bit, not a waste, but it's certainly much harder. Would you go? Whichever you want. It's very difficult, I don't know where you are, to find a politician who has a view beyond parts or open spaces in their ward. They might only be interested in the one that's directly related to their voters. To get them to have a view of the benefit of parks and open spaces across their whole area is quite hard to do. So finding somebody who is prepared to step outside their parochial interest in a park and to see the values citywide is quite hard, and that's something we need to push to do. Ding! Last one. This is going to happen more and more. Sites are going to be under threat. If they're not going to maintain them, they're going to try and get rid of them. And on one level, that's great. That gets groups together, gets them passionate, but we are going to have an uphill struggle. We will be stronger and more efficient if we share our passion, if we support each other, and develop the networks and share information. Thank you very much for your time. Hope that was okay.
Thank you. Are there any burning questions at the moment, as we do have a bit of time? Yes.
Could I ask so because government cuts are obviously going to, as you say, get worse and worse, and therefore more and more community groups are going to enter into some sort of agreement or contract or procurement with councils. Can the National Federation or somewhere, where can one get the sort of advice that one needs so that the community group doesn't have rings run out of by the council?
I mean, I think I'll start with number one, which is don't. I would say don't. Based on our own experiences, I mean, we've got, I don't know how many of you've got Millennium Greens in your area. Millennium Greens for year 2000, there was a push to get community groups to take little bits of land on in trust. Lovely idea. Fantastic for us because it's been a really good lesson in how not to do it. There was never any money handed with them. So you've got groups now who are purely fundraising to cut the grass and empty the bins. They can't do anything else. We see what we do as added value. The owners of the land must keep them clean and safe. Then we can do what we do. If you find yourself in a situation in which you are pushed into this, and the alternative is it's going to go to somebody private, there are groups within the National Federation who have been forced into it. There's probably, isn't it, right, I think, who've had to go through this process. It probably seems to be a bit of a petri dish for idiotic ideas on how we can run parks and open spaces. So, within the National Federation, if you find yourself confronted with this as an option, there are groups that we can put you in touch with who have been through this process. There are individual sites, I don't know if you know about Warley Woods, which is at the edge of Sandwell, isn't it? Is in trust. But they've got a golf course. Income is generated from the golf course, which pays for the maintenance of the rest of the site. Unless your site, or sites, if you're covering an area, has an income generation aspect, it's got a building you can rent out or something, or a golf course, there is no way that a friends group can raise the costs, unless you've got a very rich neighbourhood, to pay for the maintenance of your site. Unless your local authority or the owner of the land gives you an endowment, which is how trusts should be set up. There should be a large lump sum invested in the funds, as they would say, which will generate you an income to maintain the site in the future. If the local authority had that money, they wouldn't be getting rid of it. So, number one, please don't, unless you are really, really sure it's the only way you can do it. And if you do find yourself in that situation, get in touch and we'll put you in touch with some people who've been forced into it. Yes?
Just make a comment on that. There are sites across the Black Country which are set up as millennium little spots. And you're absolutely right what you just said. You hit the nail right on the head. They were planted, there was no money, there was no maintenance. In many cases, the trees were planted too close together, there's no maintenance, and unfortunately half of them are dying. And that's a classic example of what you said about millennium.
Back to the back there, yes.
Oh yes, thank you.
Yeah, the lights back on. Yeah, do you know what answer like, Steve?
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm actually going to put a councillor's hat on because I'm a borough councillor for Telford and Wrekin, and we've just recently put through cabinet what is called a green guarantee. Now, this is not pieces of land that either are at the moment and on our status or protected. This is new areas. 116 areas have been selected. They will be protected for the future generations. And we're actually going through a consultation now with the residents of the borough for them to name other areas they would like protected, and that's the way. And also we're very wary of a certain company in this country called Gladmans, who are land bankers.
Oh, right, yeah.
We have to watch them very carefully.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, do we have any other questions? If you think of something in the meantime, as I said, come and grab Emma at lunchtime. She's a mine of knowledge. She really is.
Most of it useful, some of it rubbish. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Right, now we're moving on to a slot, which we do in Birmingham, called Just a Minute. Yay, thanks Em. Em's a good help with this. Right, this is a slot where we invite people from the floor to come up and speak for exactly 1 minute on something positive and something good about your site or your group and something you do. And it's a really lovely way we can share what we're doing with everybody else and everyone has a chance to speak. Also, it's only a minute. So if you don't like public speaking, don't worry, it's just 1 minute. And everyone enjoys it and it's really lovely. So, who do we have first on the list?
I'm going to make Chris do it first because he's done it before.
Chris, I would like to invite Chris Blythe, who has a number of hats on today. He's from TCD, but he also runs the Growing Birmingham Network in Birmingham and is part of the Friends of Summerfield Park and the North Summerfield Residents Association.
Yeah.
Okay, and go for it.
So So I'm, work hat. I work for TCB. I run the Health for Life in the Community programme in Birmingham. Many of you may remember TCB in its old days of BTCB, traditional conservation. Health for Life in the Community takes us a little bit away from the traditional BTCB as it was work, and is focused around food growing. It's a 5-year programme in South Birmingham. It's funded by Mondelez International, Cadbury Craft as it was, so really good support from a big corporate, and works across parks, open spaces, green spaces with communities, focusing on physical activity, healthy eating and food growing. So far, 4 years in, we've developed 12 food growing spaces within green spaces which were otherwise unused. An orchard, we've worked with 1,400 volunteers, plus about 300 corporate individuals from groups like RBS and Mondelez. So the start of the programme with many partnerships.
It beeps this one, we have another one that beeps. Right, when are we supposed to do this till?
It's okay, we can keep going.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of time.
I've used this one before. Yay!
Hey, right, who's next on our
Right,
list?
I have Chrissy from Newcastle under Lyme.
Chrissy.
Oh,
I'm done. Go on, Abby.
I'm going to stand here, it's just as easy.
Oh, your pen, sorry. Your pen is now.
Right.
Oh, you're going to stand from there? You want to?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I'll stand
yeah.
Are we ready?
Go.
Go.
I am Secretary of the Acre Allotment Association just outside Newcastle under Lyme, Silverdale. We formed an unofficial group 3.5 years ago to save our allotment site. We were offered the chance in April to take on approximately 45 allotments on site, which we did do. There were only 27 plot holders at that time. From April till today, we now have 41 plot holders. In conjunction with that, we've done a business plan which has raised £3,500 of funding to reinstate some of the plots that Newcastle Borough Council left absolutely diabolically derelict and unusable, and they are now offered up for lease. We have constitution, we have a bank account. We went to Newcastle in Bloom, we won 10 plots won prizes at Newcastle in Bloom, and we won the outstanding award for the area in achievements for this year.
Okay, next I have got Mike from Kidderminster.
You want to come up?
I'll transfer you to.
Okay, ready, set, go.
Right, I'm Michael Abraham from Friends of Broadwaters in Kidderminster. We formed a local project group in about 2003 when a renovation of a building in the park was contemplated by the council. When that was completed, which was a big success, we decided we would carry on taking it forward to keep our work going and not get spoiled. So we formed litter teams, litter pick the park every day, which we still do, keep it nice and tidy. We've raised £175,000 over the 10 years. I say we, I mean Jane, my wife. For that we add value to the park where we can that the council can't do. We put in bins, benches, flower beds, bridges, features, fences, carvings, lighting the pathways, researching the pathways. We meet every month. We have an artwork project going on at this moment, and we've replaced the artwork 5 times in the period we've been there, using students from local schools.
Thank you.
Okay, next one is John from Sandwell.
Yeah.
Go on, John.
I've got a prop.
He's got props. Anyone would think he was prepared.
I'll open it first.
Do you want me to hold anything for you?
Yeah, can you hold this? I'll need you to flip it. I'll need you to flip it round on the other side in a minute.
Okay, so this side first.
I'm John Blythe from Sandwell Valley Trails Group. It's about 1,600 acres, but it's about, with the green links, it's about 2,200. Flip it over. Thank you very much. Very good. It covers Birmingham, Sandwell, and some very nice green links into Walsall. And we look after the trails. We're an overarching group, so we've got lots of different people who use it, like 5 different groups of ramblers, I'm mine at the time, Friends of Sots Hole, it's there, Friends of Dartmouth Park. Lots of councillors from Birmingham, from Sandwell and from Walsall, right to right, his officers come from the 3 areas, and lots of cyclists use the valley. Give you a flavour of it, on a good day in the valley, on an average day, there's 87 horses, and on one trail alone there's 120 cyclists. Don't know how many dog walkers, but they come to our meetings, the Environment Agency comes to our meetings, and all sorts of things. And last thing to say, we were going, I think, for 20 years, and in 1999, somebody needed to give us some money, so we now have a constitution.
Okay, I'm going to take one more now, and then we'll do the rest. We've got another batch this afternoon. If you, having seen it happen, are now willing to give it a go, just let me know, and I'll add it to the list. What would be nice, have we got anybody from the forums to speak rather than individual groups? So that's the other thing. We might have an existing forums out there. So we're going for David from Kenilworth. David from Kenilworth. Yeah, coming up at the front. Fantastic. Say when you're ready.
I'll start and then you can carry on later.
There's no cheating.
Friends of Abbey Fields, Kenilworth. Kenilworth's got a population of about 21,000. We don't replace the work that should be done by our existing council. We supplement it. We supplement that by raising money either through our membership, which is about 200, and also every 2 years producing a calendar. The calendar itself are photographs of Abbey Fields provided by local people without any worry of copyright. They give them to us. So with those, we had about 140 this year, 2016 photographs submitted. We raise money by having the shop sponsor a page, either £100 page or £50 page, and we've sold so far about 650. And we should be raising about £3,000.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I hope you found that useful. It's a really nice way about hearing what other people are doing and understanding the
Okay, anyone else wants to do one?
And if you want to have another go, and you have another go, yeah, just
Grab Emma, get your name put down. I want to put you in this afternoon. It's a lovely way to find out what everybody is doing. It's only 1 minute. It's really nice and quick. Now we're at the bit where we need. You've hopefully heard lots of really useful, interesting stuff. Make a good note. Now we need to start. It's your turn to do something yourselves. Now we're going to break off into some discussion groups, and these will finish at lunchtime. So within the next half an hour, what our first discussion group is looking at is the sort of key issues and the key problems that we all find on our own sites and our own work. What are the problems out there? That's the first question. What are the problems? What issues? What do we find out there in our day-to-day work? And then question number 2 in that discussion is, right, how have you come across that problem? Have you come across that problem and have you solved it? So what can you say that I've helped with this? I found that problem, but this is how we did it. So it's all about sharing. Now we're going to split into 5 groups. It'd be great if you could split into 2 groups with somebody you've never met before. It's a lovely way to get to know each other. I need my group needs to stand up, which is Emma, Chris, Stephen, who's standing up at the back there, Nigel, and Tim, also from TCB. Yes, these are the group leaders. We'll keep 2 in here. 1 can go and sit on the chairs, and then 2 can find some tables in the other room.
Do you want me to sign you
What
in?
we've got
Did you just arrive?
is I've got chart sheets, 1 for each question. So spend about 10-15 minutes on
Go and do
each,
it on them.
and make sure all your information is scribed down. After lunch, we'll have a little quick feedback. So what I need is workshop leaders to come and grab a pen and the chart sheets from me. So who's staying in here?
Right, we're staying here. I've decided.
Emma and Chris are staying in here. Tim, you're going out on the chairs. Nigel and Stephen are taking 2 groups into the other rooms. We're probably looking about up to 10 people in the group.
be brave, don't go with
No, just you never know. You never know. So busy.
Yes. I was thinking.
Well, we've
Okay, so we've got about 10 people to put themselves around. Break the lunch while we go down and see how we're all doing.
some of the events. I'll see you after this group.
Just on here, you know, look around here, you know,
So sit with someone you've never met before. Go over to that one and we...
Sarah, do you want to find me a couple of
What? Would you like to go over to see me with them over there? That would be marvellous. Right, we can have another 1 or 2 here, and then I'll be doing another room. So who
Say where we're from,
yeah, I'm Jackie. It was actually a bit of history, it was formed out of the
grab that chair?
Yeah, I'll
We
grab
are
a chair.
quite fortunate that our site is about 11
Right, now, do you want to go and listen to any of the
That's fine, I can go and take some photos and look around. Thank you very much. You can feel free to join us for groups. This is what you might say is I'll just, this one's mine, I'll use this one. Keep on with that one. So yeah, have a listen around to the groups and see what we discussed. Okay. You okay, Franny, all right?
Jobby.
Shall we start with a quick introduction about where you're from and why you're here? So then we can go on to my question. Well, I come from Kenilworth. I'll let you, can you tell my husband that?
In writing.
We've got a ruin down there. The Abbey Fields is round the ruin bit of the ruin. And we've got cemeteries, we've got membership.
We do have goals.
As Dave said, we've been doing
Try to add value.
I can't say that very
and I'm very new to Walsall, so
That is new.
we've got quite a lot in the network.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you.
So they're all getting emails.
No. The treasurer's been there since last year. They're done. And now the Bishop's helped you with that.
I used to work for Dudley.
Right, okay.
I developed a friend.
And go on from there. We've got a wonderful bowling green there, one of the back groups, steps to get on. To go for the places held early and to put forward
Can I ask a question? How many parks? I know what we're after, but I don't know. How many parks and open spaces?
much in the winter, dog walkers.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Really is lively and
That says it all.
really likely to be different. Well, thank you for being here, because I think, you giving up your time, if you're giving up your time to be here, that's much appreciated.
It's becoming self-sustaining on energy as well.
Maybe for sort of,
You're allowed. We'll let you in.
The rest of you have been sent.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Well done.
So, I belong to a friends group, all park all the way around Warden Park. Presently, just raised the focus historic park. We don't know. It's actually
I'm Rob from Wicksteed, manufacturer of play equipment, skate parks and the like for gyms. I'm more interested in my background in sensitive park since managed the Portsmouth District Council.
There is no adjustable, we are all.
Which I've transferred over into this job to be honest. But yeah, I'm having lots of involvement with friends groups at the time. And currently involved in consultations on day-to-day events and advice really.
What's your role in Wicksteed?
It's sales, but it's what we do design sales. So primarily, the reason they employ me is because I'm dealing with people in the park sector constantly. So I'll go to a site and provide a free advisory service on perhaps what the best design for the play area is going on, or even a master plan for a site, not necessarily specific products. And of course gyms as well.
So there's quite a wide variance of size groups, size spaces and roles, which is really good. So the what do we need help with and the how can we help each other, says, yes, should be quite easy. So I guess how do you want to do it? We can either go around the table again and say what do you want help with, or we can just throw it open and sort of mention it.
I think we've got to put the first one, what we do all the
I'll tell you about a change.
Changing the law, but it's enforcement, isn't it?
Right,
funding.
450 acres, right in the
Is that funding for
the new lake is there, and the top of it is
Staff, or is that
child-friendly play parks. The rest of the park is heritage because it used to be for industrial use over the 1800s. We've got some industrial bits over there. We now have heritage. But that is a comeback park. And the friends have been going for over 30 years. And we will have slack where things haven't been done.
No, he
like built a new bridge over to the line and got vandalised.
How
Put up top of the wind vane on the Millennium Monument because that's got vandalised. It's done, it's not been vandalised. But my main project now, I've been doing this for the last 2 years, we've done a new century round the garden given to us by the council to destroyed his bad inside. So we built a new sensory garden, all the flower beds, it's about pathways made for wheelchairs.
Yeah, but it's still prioritising.
We work in there 1 day a week, there's about 6 or 7 regular people there, and we are bringing just gardens, which are that because the 3 gardens, one golden, silver gilt at the Chelsea Flower Show is my and because of the cutbacks, they have been just so we're now trying to bring them back we get a lot of businesses come in and talk to us and say what they're doing. We're also now just connected with the Let's Grow scheme, which is a group that come in that are unemployed and
forms the link to
11
pressure on the authority
from 11
to
to 1.
provide.
And they're growing vegetables over there with the food bank. And I think that's food bank. They're going to so there's lots of
Well, section 106 is probably commonly known
Yeah,
as
But let's.
Oh, you want to carry on?
We're not going to
Okay.
Sarah's question. So
That's cool. No, you do.
okay, talk about that one, move into the next question. Yeah. Okay, so.
to go into the community, but the community reception infrastructure levy,
Dog family.
iron that out.
Any other
There is,
particular?
hasn't replaced section 106 because it's just more structured format.
I've got specific. Birmingham, I have to say Birmingham is very good at it. We do work on those.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very helpful. It's interesting, we do now have our own the small grants a couple of years ago, the under 10,000. The first one we were successful, the second one we weren't. Not quite sure why we weren't. We didn't get a great explanation, and perhaps we should have changed that up a bit. But it seems to me these forums or wider forums should be able to give some advice, you know, feedback on grants or how to design an application where you don't.
Some groups are used to it, not yourselves, but their
I mean,
own.
because you can waste a lot of time. They came back that first one a number of times asking for more information.
Just try
It took forever to do it, but we were eventually successful.
Got 400.
The second time,
So just
they said something and then it left
their
us
own
awkward
insurance through
sometimes,
British
yeah,
Land,
but we weren't sure.
so covers
Oh,
for doing that project.
How you
So,
decide
you know, there's,
wasting your time or
well, it's public liability, really.
Well, no, it's which work you're working on.
Oh, yeah.
it was the same site but a different project, yeah.
Because I know they don't like another one as an
No, it wasn't. We did wonder, because we were the same site, we'd had funding maybe a couple of years ago, whether that counted against us, that they didn't want to give
Which
us
is a
our
lot of
site
money
again.
for a group
Although it was
to
a different
raise.
project.
If they-
So it's these sort of
they
issues,
have to
isn't it,
improve
not
it because they
really
don't
fully
know.
being aware of. Awards for all it was, sorry, awards for all.
So
So that's social behaviour, general.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
You can only apply once in every 2 years.
it's about
Yeah.
writing,
You get it in phases, London, town park.
Yeah. I think the same principles now, though, I think. How worthwhile it is applying and advice on how to,
And
you know, get
they've just
success.
had some new steps.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You can ask questions that you're not completely so just be careful they tend to get
I certainly got confused the first round. The questions were the same, but
the guidelines always change, so the benefits always change.
but I think there's a principle there about clarification.
Yes, best thing to do.
One of the things we do is we, in contrast, we have funding to spray our workshops and spray our so the kids are involved and there are places where you do
Whilst they're getting very good on the price side, is when you actually done it, once they've gone through the process.
Yeah, it's very clear. That's why it's
So this is what you need help with. Good. Okay. So that's volunteer recruitment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think we should put that on the next one.
Volunteers, and I guess that's probably another issue.
I'll tell you a story about it. So I did a project on it recently called the Millpool, which is something else. But, and we had a bit of luck and we got some money and took lots of local schools on the side. Basically, we just lecturing about the environment, specifically, but the environmental agencies on something. And the schools in a couple of days and they had a great time on the exams. One of the,
so if you say, right, change the about £30 in terms of use of the park.
we had things like washing machines in the middle of the site, not on the edge.
No.
And then she told me this story. She said her dad was going to dump something on the site, and she said, "Don't do that, Dad. I help to clean that site."
Yeah. That's what you want.
Isn't that wonderful?
Get them young.
But the interesting thing, just to
So
show you,
funding, recruitment,
we had a few fires. After we took all the local schools, and we used to say, I used to say to them, look how old I am. This is for you and your kids, not for me, because I'll be dead. They think about that. And we had several years now, don't do it on one side. No, we should have some. You own the site, not me. This is for you.
So often they think, oh,
Well, they think it's the council's
Yeah, or whomever
and
it
in
is.
fact, that is the way we have to because a lot of people think we've got our houses just, even though we've got embraced it, rented out, we now actually have an aid
and then specific
well, when we
project
work, we put it out, what we're actually doing, and say that we're volunteers, because the number of people who've got
So are there any other things that you feel?
we don't even get paid for it.
And we take small groups out from reception, nursery reception onwards on a regular basis.
We have an education.
Making it really easy.
We have an education because we're never going to have it. And that is on the ground because you'll get it to the latest.
Any more
And drink as well.
Well, yeah, drink.
Yeah, and I think this is why when I asked the question about going outside the friends groups and looking at the type of volunteers to quite hard to employ.
Yeah, it's difficult.
There's difficult we have used them. We have used them for hard, hard labour.
I just say that.
It's been very difficult. It's been very difficult.
Everybody's got other things to do besides.
Well, it's interesting because we feel exactly the reverse, and we've got a good relationship with the community favour. Birmingham used them, Town will use them, and they don't like you cleaning up town centres because people can go, oh, you're but they love working in the valley. They love cleaning a trail, they'll do the fences, they'll bring their own tools. Sometimes you have to provide them with a portal, but they actually will ring us and say, have you got any work to do on green spaces? Because they don't like being in city centres. And people who now know what they're doing in the valley actually sometimes go and make some cups of tea and stuff like that. So we've changed that around. Is the fact that they're having to do it is irrelevant. They're actually helping us. I'd rather they help us than be in prison.
Yeah.
So it's but they're a great resource.
Well, yeah. they're an interesting.
Well,
for your experience.
our experience is they're a great resource.
Okay. Anything else we need to put on this? Page 2. What help can we offer? Anything else? What do we think of it? Second yeah.
Which means I know you get involved. That's one question. So you link them to existing.
Existing volunteers.
And that's all the questions. How we actually go and bring those people in. It's okay to talk about it, but it's actually going out there and working with the community.
I mean, if I could use the rules from my experience, when I was doing the previous and 3 years ago, Carmen's, you know, and then on came out, you know, and
I mean, one of the things that's
back
passionate for me
everybody around the head,
is
pulled
to
everybody
stop
into
schools
it.
putting their children in coaches and taking them to the countryside.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, nature is on your doorstep. You don't have to drive to get to it.
And every 2 weeks we would have to develop this group, and you know, Karma now is a fantastic community space which has got, you know, lots of food going into it, built a stage.
So what help can we offer? I think by we they meant kind of, in a sense, what role do the volunteers play
It's just so, it is such a
in making change?
fantastic
So I think you said before, the roles that we play is staying up to an issue, you know.
And I think
So they're very supportive.
key,
Yeah, the Vivo. I mean, it's about having it's not an efficiency. It's a cut. Staff have to say efficiency.
And that person is then your, if they've got the time and the energy, is then your potential your motivator for the forums. Can you imagine setting that on some protocols? So they would get involved, I'm sure.
I think there's a slight danger with a very charismatic individual. It's great to have. If that person leads to
Absolutely.
then I've seen groups fall apart. Just fall apart. So I think what's and strong.
So, I mean, what help the help we can offer?
Reasonable people are willing to share it, because if it's all sometimes you've seen it, they go on and the way. So you need that strong group.
Yeah.
So solutions there.
Yes.
Absolutely, that stronger group and support. But if it's just one or two individuals, it can be quite difficult, I think. And how you get there is quite difficult.
So we end up saying if you find there is this problem. This is where a forum, and then that result is like we've been able to go to that have done this. And I mean, every funding we've got this. So it really the agenda change. The agenda for budgetary was really good example. Like the agenda change capital improvements and they're actually awarded the Rough Towns project. And you just look at dozens and dozens and look at the speed what money. So that was our picture of their agenda.
Sometimes you mentioned Biffa, which presumably was landfill tax.
What they're delivering on the
Yeah, but I mean, we actually we're working with Birmingham Council on some landfill tax, and we've worked with the town council. We've been very successful in that for it's an horrendous document when you first see it, but it gives credence to Birmingham, of course, and if 5 or 10 groups write in. I mean, I also tend to get our MP to write in. When Lord King was alive, I got Lord King as well. But so there can be, we can help each other.
So much when we come to see So if you can actually get a time and we'll sit together
Sometimes sorry.
She just keeps us informed.
What is it?
we try and sort of solve this. She's IT, I'm squad. So she can one of the things we do always